Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today, beginning with the Nebraska Supreme Court, who on Thursday rejected fast-tracking a pair of lawsuits seeking to remove an abortion rights constitutional amendment from the fall ballot. The first effort was filed by a Douglas County woman and funded by the Thomas More Society. Attorneys for the woman said after the Supreme Court declined to take up their lawsuit initially, she tried to correct what they said were mistakes on the first lawsuit and refiled it, but the court again rejected the case Thursday. The second lawsuit was filed by a Lincoln neonatologist this past Wednesday and asked the court to remove the Protect the Right to Abortion measure from the ballot. Now, Nebraska Secretary of State Bob Evnen announced last week that measure had qualified for the ballot. The proposed abortion rights amendment would codify a right to abortion in the Nebraska Constitution until fetal viability, as determined by a health care provider. A 2-year-old is safe after authorities say the toddler was left in a vehicle while their caretaker was in court. Douglas County authorities say 42-year-old Ahmed Izzadeen faces additional charges now of child abuse with intent. He was already at the Douglas County Courthouse Thursday being sentenced to jail for a probation violation. But authorities say he didn't tell anyone he had a 2-year-old in his car while he was in court. A passerby noticed the toddler and alerted authorities. The child was hospitalized as a precaution. Police tell us the 2-year-old is okay. Governor Jim Pillen issuing an executive order on Thursday in an attempt to thwart the efforts of procuring lab-grown meat. The governor, joined by Nebraska Department of Agriculture Director Sherry Vinton and livestock producers in West Point, where they unveiled new rules to protect Nebraska consumers and livestock from products that they say shouldn't count as real meat.
We are going to get very aggressive and make sure that Nebraskans are not going to get confused by how meat is labeled. They're not going to be able to People are not going to come into Nebraska and sell product that has meat on it that's not meat.
Manufactured protein or lab-grown meat needs to be clearly and distinctly separated from natural, real meat that is raised by Nebraska's dedicated and hardworking livestock producers.
Lab-grown meat refers to tissue that originates from agricultural food animals, but instead of being produced through traditional meat processing methods, it's cultivated from cells in a controlled environment. The U.S. Postal Service outlining security plans ahead of this year's general election. The agency announced plans to improve the safe delivery of mail-in ballots close to or on Election Day. Among those efforts, additional pickups, extra deliveries, and special mail sorting plans to expedite ballot delivery. The USPS says those efforts will start in late October. The U.S. Postal Inspection Service, meanwhile, says they're planning to implement rigorous security protocols and are monitoring for any potential threats. Meanwhile, cards have been going out in the mail for voters who want to cast their ballots early and have the ballot mailed to them. Doug Kennedy has those details.
Although they just recently hit the mailbox, Gage County Election Commissioner Don Hill said there's been a good return, over 1,000 so far. The first day early ballots can be mailed out is September 30th. Hill said in the past there's been as many as 5,000 early ballots requested. In Gage County as of Thursday, there were 14,455 people registered to vote. Updating the voter registration list is a constant process. In some areas of the U.S., people who oversee elections are coming under greater scrutiny from people suspecting voter fraud or claiming an election was somehow rigged or stolen. Hill says that's had an impact on getting volunteers to continue helping local officials conduct fair elections.
I've had people that were poll workers that have said they declined to work any longer. We've had an incident or two at one of the poll sites that bothered them, and so they just said they didn't want to be part of it anymore. I do have some that will volunteer now. We went through COVID and we have this climate now of the mistrust in some of the areas. I try to reassure everyone that we're doing everything that we can we check and double check everything as best our ability. And so if people do still have questions, feel free to call me. But like I said, we do everything we can to try to ease people's concerns.
The national election for president is taking place during a time of bitter divisions. Many states' voters are also facing ballot issues on controversial topics such as abortion, medical marijuana, tax structure, and legalized sports betting, to name a few. From Beatrice, Doug Kennedy, News Channel, Nebraska.
Well, it is Labor Day weekend, and many will be facing the challenges of travel. Prices are down for Labor Day weekend, but the TSA preparing for a busy weekend. And as Sherelle Hubbard reports, airports are still continuing to recover from recent massive cyber attacks.
Whether traveling by air or by car, millions of Americans have something to celebrate this holiday weekend: lower prices. AAA says overall it's seeing a 2% dip in the cost of domestic travel, and U.S. motorists can expect to pay less for gas. The national average gas price over Labor Day weekend last year was $3.81 per gallon. GasBuddy.com is predicting $3.27 a gallon for Labor Day this year, and people are taking advantage.
People are using their chance in summer to have one last trip at the end of summer.
So where is everyone headed? AAA says top Labor Day destinations are Seattle, Orlando, and Anchorage, Alaska. But travelers are being advised to pack their patience, especially in Seattle, where a cyber attack shut computer systems down Saturday. By Thursday, the airport was still trying to recover.
The biggest impact to passengers has been for those flying internationally and low-volume carriers. These carriers are not able to access our common use online systems during the outage and may still be utilizing manual written boarding passes and luggage checks. This has caused some longer lines for their customers.
Across all U.S. airports, the TSA is expecting an 8.5% increase in passenger volume compared to last year.
Overall, it has just been tremendous to see how many people want to travel.
I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
Well, you can look forward to some lower prices at the pump this holiday weekend. Gas Buddy projecting the national average for gas on Labor Day will be $3.27 a gallon. That's the cheapest for the holiday since 2021. AAA says the average price per gallon in Nebraska, a little less than that, $3.15, 12% lower than the same time last year. Over the weekend, Americans could be spending a total of $750 million less on gas than they did last year. The recent drop in gas prices can be attributed to weaker oil prices, softer demand for gasoline, and fewer major refinery outages than last summer. If you're looking for the cheapest gas in Nebraska, well, head to the Panhandle. Gas Buddy says residents in Sidney paying as low as $2.76 a gallon. Now, before you lay out the food this holiday weekend, you're advised to take a close look inside your refrigerator. A major deli meat recall still in effect because of listeria contamination. It's made dozens sick and in some cases turned fatal. And officials say they fear those products might still be in some kitchens. John Lawrence has the latest.
Jarrett, Virginia, the epicenter of the largest listeria outbreak the U.S. has seen in more than a decade.
Same. People losing lives for nothing.
The source of the outbreak? Deli meat from this Boar's Head plant. The Department of Agriculture reports 69 non-compliances at that facility within the past year, where inspectors say they found mold, insects, both dead and alive, as well as puddles of blood on the floor.
They've been around the clock working, I guess, trying to fix it up and settle the problem, but it shouldn't have been a problem to begin with.
The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says at least 57 people have been hospitalized in 18 states due to infection. 9 are confirmed dead. Boar's Head recalled more than 7 million pounds of its meats, primarily liverwurst, but also ham, sausage, bologna, hot dogs, and bacon. The company has paused production at the Virginia plant, saying in a statement, quote, "We deeply regret the impact this recall has had on affected families."
Hopefully they get under control.
Boar's Head officials also say they're working to prevent this from happening again. In the meantime, some retailers, like this one in Norfolk, are going elsewhere for now.
Actually, we replaced it with some good premium meat. As things settles down and Boar's Head clears it up, yeah, we will use it again.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
And finally, the Nebraska Army and Air National Guard have formalized an agreement with the city of Beatrice. It's a partnership that recognizes the ties citizen soldiers have with their communities. Doug Kennedy has more.
A formal signing ceremony was held outside the Gage County Historical Museum, where a special exhibit recognizes the long military history of Company C, 134th Infantry. Nebraska Adjutant General Craig Strong and others of the Nebraska Military Department spent Thursday meeting with local veterans, businesses, and government leaders.
It's been a fantastic day, from walking to different businesses throughout the day, to being with your Veterans Club, to spending time with the chief of police, to your fire department. This is what America is all about. And the National Guard is proud that we have a readiness center here or an armory in the city of Beatrice, because the roots of military commitment run deep in Beatrice, and the roots to the National Guard run even deeper.
With an honor guard nearby and flanked by members of the American Legion Riders, Adjutant General Strong and Beatrice Mayor Bob Morgan formally signed the cooperative agreement between the Nebraska military and the city, becoming the second community to take part in the partnership. Mayor Morgan said the partnership coincides with his goal to emphasize the long-range viability of the community.
I think it does say that we still care about the community, and we care about protecting the nation with the great men and women that have served, will serve, and are serving. So on behalf of the city, thank you very much for choosing us.
The Beatrice Area Guard members' history dates back decades, including the battle to liberate St. Lo, France in World War II, where the unit suffered the highest number of casualties of any unit, to many modern-day deployments following the 9/11 terror attacks in 2001. The soldiers served in defense of the nation. The military department also serves citizens in times of emergency at home through the Nebraska Emergency Management Agency. The day-long visit by the Nebraska Army and Air National Guard concluded with an open house at the Guard Readiness Center in West Beatrice. From Beatrice, Doug Kennedy, News Channel, Nebraska.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com and click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. You're watching News Channel Nebraska.